welcome to the third in our series of TalkLIS interviews. My name is Julian Tyndale-Biscoe, and over the course of this series, I'll be talking to individuals involved in LIS projects throughout the UK, finding out about the challenges they face and what the future holds for LIS. Today, we're in Suffolk, and I'm joined by Lyn Baran, Group Manager, Business Development, Suffolk County Council. Hi, Lyn.
Hello, Julian.
I wonder if you could just tell us first about the project that you've been working on in Suffolk.
Yes. In 2009, a group of basically research analysts from across various public sector organisations in Suffolk came together as part of a general intelligence network to discuss what the future should be to support us working together more effectively. We were very conscious there was a lot of duplication of effort and a lot of benefit to be gained from sharing what we had. We did have an observatory in Suffolk, but it had been based on quite an old model and was really sort of feeling quite tired and was not as interactive as we really wanted. So we put a business case together to Suffolk Chief Execs, and just to cut a very long story short, we were able to launch our new observatory at the start of 2011. So yes, we went through quite a rapid phase of all having a light bulb moment together, and were fortunate to secure the funding to deliver it.
And it sounds as though you had to get data from a lot of different sources, in presumably from different organisations, into one place. Was that a challenge in any way?
It was a challenge, and it does in many ways continue to be a challenge. There's a lot of data that clearly we can source from national data suppliers, and that gives us one level of very useful data, particularly because we can draw down comparative data too. But where we felt the real benefit of coming together within our area was if we could put into the observatory data either more quickly than it appeared nationally, or that never actually made it into a national framework. So information that us as health partners, local councils, both at district as well as at county council level, and the police, for example, where we could actually put our own data in. And although that remains our aspiration, and we have made some progress with that, there's all the familiar issues that I'm sure many listeners will be familiar with, about making sure that data is recorded in a comparable way and to the right standards, so that importing becomes easy and not something that creates more work for people. And I think the second challenge, which is common to all of that, is that we were very, very keen to be able to support a number of flexible geographies for presenting data. Our base point was that we try and secure data at postcode level, so that although it doesn't appear at postcode level on the system, that we can aggregate up to not just standard LSOA and ward geographies, but some of our own unique and idiosyncratic administrative boundaries, that actually is where teams of people want information. So we have developed workarounds for that, but it still remains a challenge.
And do you find that it has helped bring organisations who may not have had closer links together, because they are now having to talk about, well, this is how we put that data set together? Is it the same as the way you're doing it? And is that bringing organisations closer?
It is, and it's the timing in many ways could not have been more perfect, because clearly with the significant reductions across all public sector partners in particular, everyone is looking to find ways to streamline what they do. A number of our district councils are setting up formal shared services agreements, for example, and that is really highlighting where there are differences in data collection, as well as maybe how services are delivered. So, and the fact that we've now got this added bonus that there's a shared platform that people can potentially use to make their data more visible to each other, is actually sort of giving the whole process some support that might otherwise not be there. I wouldn't claim too much for that. It's more the fact that the framework is there for people to use. But it certainly could not, I'm so pleased we had this framework available and the platform available, because I think otherwise we would have been looking to create something. The fact we've got it there is a big help. And also, I think one of the other things that came up at a meeting just last week is, I think we haven't lost sight of one of our initial starting points was to avoid duplication of effort. The police, for example, are very, very keen that because we now have a shared platform for our general sort of socio-demographic information, that is, they don't have to pay additionally for it, which is what they used to do.
And it sounds as though users from a wide range of organisations are actually finding it useful. Have you had specific feedback? Are you carrying out any sort of customer surveys or user surveys into how people are using the information that you're putting out there?
It's one of our top priorities for this coming year. As I say, we've only really been up and running as a live system on the new platform since the start of the year. And in the first 6 months, our effort has been to focus very much on promoting the site to a wide variety of users and I have to say particularly funders initially, so that people, particularly our councillors, can see what they have got for their investment and to talk to them about their ideas of using it. And we're very much pinning some of that on the localism agenda to sort of show how we can provide information about their specific localities. But we were very taken in Suffolk from something we picked up at the February conference in Nottingham around the idea, I think it was the Welsh service had done, about defining sort of user characters. And we've built that into our work plan for the second half of this year and going forward, so that we can really understand who our different users are. At the moment, it's been very much on a sort of face-to-face personal basis, as well as councillors. I've been speaking to some of our local businesses to see how they might get a benefit from it. And I think it's become clear to us that although we had a fair idea about what people wanted based on the sort of inquiries we used to get in our sort of research and intelligence teams, actually if we go out and speak to people, we'll get a whole new set of perspectives, and that really will help us going forward.
And just for people who are not familiar with what the Unison Wales has done, is they've classified different types of people, and they've called them different names, haven't they? So I think there were 4 or 5, or was it fewer, different types?
We really saw the value in what they've done, and by giving the sort of typical users a real name like Rachel or Charlie, or Gareth, maybe, it sort of becomes shorthand for understanding and thinking about the service that is being provided in terms of would it meet the needs of those particular types of users, and it's sort of a very useful way of keeping in I think the provider's mind who all this effort is for. And I'll say we were very, very taken with this idea and could absolutely see that it's an essential next step if we're to make this observatory really add value to the users.
And now that you're up and running and you're going to the next stage, making sure that it actually does meet these requirements, what can you see further down the line in terms of developments and taking it to the next stage?
I think there's sort of a whole range of things that we're considering at the moment. Some of them are to do with basic survival in these challenging times, and I think that's why I think the work I've just described that we're going to do going forward, which is about understanding user needs very well, is going to be so important. But I think our ambition on top of that is something that we'd already considered, which was how we can make this platform that we have a genuine two-way sort of information exchange vehicle. so that as well as the partners using it as a platform to put information out to users, we'd be very keen to explore how communities can perhaps lodge with the site anything that they've done, particularly that has used the information on the observatory. For example, parishes and communities draw up neighbourhood and community plans. And we know that some of them are actively using some of the profiling information they're getting from the observatory. So it would seem to us a really fantastic idea that, as well as hovering over a place and being able to pull up a statistical profile, that we could somehow link it to a profile that local residents have produced, for example. And we're quite excited by that concept because, I think then it would feed off each other and it would give us a chance to bring in some of that local intelligence to support local data.
That sounds like a very two-way system. Very often, I think what happens is information is provided and it's there for people to get to. But actually, this sounds very, very interesting because it sounds as though you are actually relying on the community to put something back into it.
Well, I think, as I say, it's an ambition and an aspiration, and we've been talking to our web developers who we've been working with to see how we could facilitate that. But I think it would be a wholly positive move for local information systems to become that genuine one-stop shop for information. And I suppose really I'm quite excited by the idea because I've seen some very good local plans that local communities have done. Is if you can put those up and perhaps other communities can look and see, oh, okay, I get what can be achieved, and it could perhaps snowball, and we could create a very vibrant set of information there that people could make use of. And I think that would be fantastic if we could achieve that.
And hopefully one that will be more immune to, at the moment we're facing budget cuts and restrictions on spending. And I suppose if you then really have a system like the one you described, it makes it integral in terms of taking community information, local information systems forward, I suppose.
Well, I think, yes, I mean, there's a very hard-nosed aspect to the ambition. And, we're very well aware that, over the years there's been a whole sort of mushrooming of different data sources and websites. And, some parishes have their own websites, others don't. But one thing we do know is that people need to have access to information sort of seamlessly, and the more you can link from a sort of a landing point, I think the more sustainable it will be going forward. So I think there is a real sense in which we want to offer this because we think it makes sense, but also because the more partners you have who can see the benefit of it, the more we think our funding will be sustainable going forward. And to be quite honest, we're also exploring how we can work more widely with the private sector and look at commercial funding to see if that is an avenue that could generate even a partial contribution, because we are aware that businesses need the sort of information that is on there, and if we can find ways of perhaps adding value through customised packages of information, for example, to sort of SMEs who perhaps don't have the time to do their own research, then I think that's an avenue that we're also going to be having a look at very closely.
Excellent. Well, it sounds as though you're very busy and you've got lots ahead of you. So, and it sounds as though the local information system in Suffolk is a place to watch for future developments. Lyn, thank you for your insight and your time. It's been very interesting.
Very welcome.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. We hope you'll be able to join us for the next in our series of Talk